Hey guys, how are you? I hope everyone is well. In this video today, we're going to be testing out these molds and seeing how well they work or don't work. So in the last two videos, we made the molds and then we revealed the molds. And in this video today, we're going to be testing them out. And let's see how they work. Let's see how they perform. I'm not sure if they're going to be working just as good as the clear molds that you would find online on Amazon, AliExpress, and things like that, because the silicone or whatever material that the clear molds are made from are clear, right? So the light is able to penetrate through the entire mold. With these molds, it's a little different. The light can't really penetrate all the way through because it is not clear. Also, be aware of the items that you are molding. Make sure that they're not too thick of an item. As you can see here, this bear mold is not that thick, but the light has a hard time penetrating all the way through. And you'll see in just a few moments what I'm talking about. You can use a base coat if you'd like, but I changed my mind and I ended up using a no wipe top coat for the bottom of the mold. Well, technically for what's going to be in the front of the mold. So I like using a no wipe top coat so that we don't have to top coat the item when it is done and it's not all sticky. So that's what I like to do. Also, do make sure that the polishes or whatever material, specifically with the polishes, make sure that the polishes are really thin. You don't want to be putting a thick polish into these molds because that's not going to help with the curing process either. And if you're struggling to get or to have a really thin polish, get a really hot cup of water, as hot as you can get it. Put your polish inside of that cup. Of course, you don't want the water overflowing kind of over the top of the polish. Just make sure maybe that the water comes up to maybe halfway of the gel polish and let it sit there for a little bit. The hot water will break up the gel so that it becomes more fluid and so that it's not as thick. And that should help you a little bit. Also, make sure that you scrape off as much polish as possible. You don't want to be putting this polish into the mold really thick at all, because again, it's going to be hard for the light to penetrate through the item and then through the mold because it's not clear. So we have to try our best to kind of help the light out so that our items, or the polish that we're putting into the mold, we want to make sure that the polish remains very thick. Even if I'm using the potted gel in the pots, those two, you want to make sure that you are applying the gel into the mold very, very thin. Also, in the last couple days, I have realized that jelly polishes work a lot better in these molds than maybe a thicker, I don't know, glitter polish. Again, you want to make sure that these polishes are very thin. Sometimes if you have a cold area, which is odd, not old, odd because my apartment tends to run, kind of on the warm side. So the fact that my polishes are not very runny is very odd to me. But please make sure that your polishes are as thin as possible when you are using them in these molds. Even when you are using the clear molds, you just want to make sure that the gel remains very, very thin. I don't think that you'll have a problem with like an acrylic, but definitely with gel, you want to make sure that each coat is very thin and that you cure between each layer is very important. So I am not pouring the gel in here. You can tell that I'm putting in the polish very, very thin layers, and I'm also curing between each layer so that each layer cures correctly. I'm not dumping a whole bunch of polish in here and expecting it to cure, because that's probably not going to happen. So that's why I like to cure in layers. Now here I forgot to put a layer of top coat, but that's okay. When the item comes out, you can just go over the item with a layer of top coat if you'd like. If not, you just need to wipe off the sticky layer when it's done. So as they're done, I'm just going to apply a layer of top coat. And you can see I'm still working on this bear very slowly. And you'll see shortly that the bear didn't work out how I wanted it to. And I just think that maybe the mold is too deep for the light to kind of penetrate through. Because all of the smaller, thinner molds worked very well. There was some residual polish that stayed, kind of afterwards. But that was only with the molds that I didn't layer the top coat with. So that's why I like to just put a layer of top coat so that when we release the item, everything comes out and none of the color stays behind. Alright, so let's check on these flowers and see how they did. And like I said, for some reason the jelly polishes work a lot better than like a polish with, glitter in it. That tends to run a little bit thicker. And I'm not sure if it's because the polishes are lighter in color or that they're thinner or what it is, but I definitely like to use the jelly polishes in these molds. Also, I'm not sure if I said this, but also when you are layering the top coat, you want to make sure that that top coat remains very thin as well. I want to keep working on that bear because I really want it to work out because I think that it is adorable. The mold came out really, really good. And yesterday off camera, I tried out another one of the bear molds that I made. And the bear came out, but for some reason the faces are not coming out right. I'm just going to keep working with them and see what I can do because there's no reason for them to just not, be coming out right. The only thing that I can think of is see what I mean here? The light just can't penetrate all the way through. It can't. It's too thick and it's not clear. So the light is not able to pass all the way through the mold. And you do see how small the bear is. It's very tiny, but still the thickness of the bear, it's pretty thick. It's not so thin. So it's really not the mold's fault. It's just the light can't get all the way through. So what I'm going to do is in the next video, we're not going to give up with the molds. We're just going to try a different material inside of the mold. Is it material? We're just going to try a different way. So instead of maybe a gel polish, maybe next time we'll try a solid glue gel, or I will try the the gel pots, not glue pots, the gel pots. Those tend to run a little bit thinner, sometimes a little bit thicker, but I'm just going to try different things and see what works. Try acrylic. Acrylic, I think, will work. It'll work 100%. Doesn't matter how thick the mold is, in my opinion, because you don't need a light for acrylic. There's no light that needs to penetrate through the acrylic. Acrylic sets up on its own. So I think acrylic would be great to use in these molds. Resin. Resin is something else you could try. Although I have tried resin in some of my bigger molds, and kind of the same thing happens. The resin or the light can't penetrate all the way through to cure all of the resin. So sometimes, if you can, I will pop out the item, turn it around, and cure it on the other side. So you just have to be careful with how maybe thick the piece is. And just know that with these molds, because they're not clear, sometimes the light cannot penetrate all the way through. Therefore, you won't be able to cure the item all the way through. But that's why I like to, cure after each and every layer, but still you saw that I cured after each and every layer, and I still am having a hard time with curing the bear. But also, I think that I just kept trying to cure on top of that wet gel that was already in there. And you want to make sure to have a really clean mold even when you're reusing it, because the image, it won't come out right. You'll have a distorted image if the mold isn't clean. And clean as it, what I mean, as far as being clean as, like, there's no more gel in there. So just make sure to wipe out all of the gel from the previous color, and then you should be fine. So just be sure whatever item you're using to mold is a very thin piece. You don't want it to be too thick because you don't want to have issues with curing. So when you're picking out your pieces, just make sure that they're on the thin side so that your light won't have any issues with kind of, getting through to cure the piece. And just remember, for me, jelly polishes worked a ton better with my DIY molds because for some reason, I don't know, maybe the light was just able to kind of get through those colors a little bit better because they're thinner, maybe lighter in color, I'm not really sure. But again, make sure that when you're curing in layers. Regardless of if the mold is thin or thick, just make sure that you're curing in layers. If you watched all 12 minutes and 52 seconds of this video, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know what you think. I know you guys were enjoying me making these molds and you couldn't wait for me to use them. So here you go. I hope that you tried that for yourself. See, these are the clear molds that I was talking about compared to my DIY molds. They're not the same. I am wondering if I can find something that is a mold maker that is just a little thinner than the putty that I used. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.